My sister called me the background character in her birthday speech and thanked me for always staying in her shadow so she could shine. People laughed, even Dad. I just sat there, nodding. Until the DJ said, "There's one more video." When it played, her smile disappeared. My name is Nadia. I was born and raised in Westport, Connecticut, one of those picturesque New England towns that looks like a postcard but feels like a stage set. My parents, Victor and Lorelei, were the sort of couple who looked perfect at fundraisers and had crystal bowls for candy no one ever touched. Dad worked in finance, still does. Mom used to be an interior designer before she became a full-time mother, as she proudly told anyone who asked. It always sounded noble. Like a job she chose instead of something she gave up. And then there was Sierra. My younger sister. She was born 3.5 years after me, and from the minute she entered the world, it was like the stoplight had just been waiting for her. I was the quiet one. Always had been. I loved books, puzzles, and long afternoons at the library. Sierra loved mirrors, microphones, and being adored. It's hard to explain this dynamic without sounding bitter, but it's not bitterness. It's reality. Some kids grow up in their sibling's shadow because of grades or sports. I grew up in my sister's shadow because everyone acted like she was the main character in our family's story and I was just there. I remember being 7 and overhearing my mother say to her friend, "Nadia's so easy. If she's quiet, it just means she's reading. She's not like Sierra, Sierra needs attention." I was sitting in the next room with my little plastic recorder, pretending I was a journalist. I never forgot that line. If you're quiet and easy, you become invisible. Sierra was everything I wasn't. Loud, charming, chaotic in the kind of way that adults call spirited and teachers call disruptive. She talked her way out of trouble, flirted with boys in middle school like she was born with lip gloss on, and made everything she touched into a performance. And somehow, I became her steady ground. When she forgot her homework, I snuck mine into her bag. When she cried after getting dumped at 16 by a senior who was a total ass, I held her until she fell asleep. I kept her secrets. I picked her up when she got too drunk at a party and didn't want to call mom and dad. College gave me space. I went to Tufts and studied psychology. Not because I had some grand plan, but because I wanted to understand why people treat each other the way they do. Why do some people become magnets and others become mirrors? I loved Boston. I found people who didn't know Sierra, didn't compare me to anyone. I dyed my hair dark, started dressing in the clothes I actually liked instead of the cute outfits my mother used to buy me. For the first time, I wasn't someone's big sister. I was just Nadia. Meanwhile, Sierra was bouncing between majors at NYU, dating a new guy every season, and posting curated pictures long before Instagram was a thing. She ended up dropping out junior year to move to LA with a photographer boyfriend named Julian. He pronounced it like it was French, but he was from New Jersey. She came back 6 months later, heartbroken and broke, and I was the one who met her at the airport. "I knew you'd come," she whispered when she saw me. I always came. She eventually built her brand, first with a blog, then with social media. You might have seen her at some point. Sierra V, Curated Life was the name. Clean aesthetics, white marble kitchens, conscious parenting tips. She married Troy, a venture capitalist who wore white linen shirts and always spoke like he was presenting at TEDx. They had a daughter, Ivy, who is, genuinely, one of the kindest kids I've ever met. I stayed in New Haven. Opened a small therapy practice. Lived alone, by choice. I wasn't opposed to love, it just never clicked. I was happy in a quiet way. But in our family, quiet happiness isn't celebrated. It's overlooked. Every birthday, every holiday, I was there. I bought Ivy her first bike, helped Sierra through her divorce from Troy, even helped cover mom's hospital bills when her insurance didn't. I never asked for anything in return. I didn't think I could. Sierra was always the story. I was just the setting. Then came Sierra's 38th birthday. She rented out this rooftop event space in Soho. Real swanky stuff, glass walls, a skyline view, a bar menu with ingredients I couldn't pronounce. Dress code was midnight chic. I wore a dark blue jumpsuit I found on Poshmark. She wore a silver floor-length dress that shimmered every time she moved. People flew in from everywhere. Influencers, lifestyle brand reps, an ex-boyfriend who's now some kind of yoga CEO. Our dad was there, of course, holding court with the lawyers and finance types. Our mom came for the photos, then slipped out early. That's how she does things now. After the second round of champagne, Sierra got up with a microphone. She always gives speeches. She once gave a toast at a friend's baby shower that turned into a story about her birth experience. I just want to say, she began, this year has been wild. Divorcing Troy, finding myself, starting fresh. It's been hard but amazing. And I wouldn't be here without my people. She thanked her manager, her stylist, even her yoga instructor. Then she turned to me. And of course, Nadia. My sister. My rock. She smiled. You know, every main character needs a background character. Someone who holds the light, keeps things steady. Nadia's always been that for me. Always in the background, never asking for attention. Always letting me shine. The room laughed. They laughed. Even Dad chuckled, like it was some inside joke. I felt something in my chest twist. I smiled. I nodded. I kept it all inside because that's what I've always done. But I wasn't okay. Not this time. I had done something different this year. Something I didn't tell her about. 2 months before the party, I'd been cleaning out my external hard drive. I found old videos, of us as kids, as teens, even some from the early blog days. It made me emotional, seeing how much of my life had been spent propping her up. Then I found an old voice memo she sent me at 1:42 a.m. one night 2 years ago. Drunk, I think. Rambling. You know what? I hate how much I need you. You're like this ghost in my life. You make me feel like I'm failing because you're so steady. But I can't stop leaning on you. You're like gravity, and I hate gravity. I saved it. I put together a video montage, one that showed both of us. The quiet moments. The times I carried her. The text messages. The missed vacations. The nights I stayed up with Ivy while she was away. Not to shame her. Just to show the truth. I sent it to the DJ, anonymously. Told her to play it at the end. Said it was a surprise gift from a friend. So when the DJ said, "There's one more video," I just sat there. And I watched Sierra's face crumble in real time. People were still laughing when the DJ dimmed the lights. "I've got a surprise video," she said. "From someone close. You'll want to see this." At first, the screen showed the usual, the glossy stuff. Sierra dancing in the Hamptons, Ivy's third birthday party with pastel balloons and a rainbow cake, her wedding photos where Troy looked like a catalog model holding a glowing bride. The crowd gave polite smiles and coos. Everyone expected more of the same. But then it shifted. Suddenly, the clips weren't polished anymore. They were raw. Shaky handheld phone recordings, outtakes, the stuff no one posts. Sierra was crying on the kitchen floor, mascara streaked, holding a wine glass. Her voice on speakerphone telling me, "I messed everything up again, Nads. I need you." Footage of me pushing Ivy on a swing at the local park while Sierra was working on herself in Tulum. Pictures of Sierra asleep on my couch, her suitcase still zipped beside her, after Troy kicked her out temporarily during one of their infamous silent wars. The background laughter had gone silent. Then came the text messages. Screenshots. My voice narrates over them. Calm, quiet, measured. My therapist's voice, as some clients call it. "Can you take Ivy this weekend? I need space. I know you're probably busy, but I need someone who won't tell me I'm being dramatic. I wish I was more like you. You just handle things." I fell apart. The final image was from about 3 months ago, just me and Ivy, sitting on the front steps of my apartment in New Haven. Ivy's head was on my shoulder, and I was reading to her from a book she picked. The picture wasn't posed. I hadn't even known someone took it. Then, the voice memo played. No video. Just black screen and Sierra's voice, unmistakably her, just, exposed. "You know what? I hate how much I need you. You're like this ghost in my life. You make me feel like I'm failing because you're so steady. But I can't stop leaning on you. You're like gravity, and I hate gravity." The lights came up. Sierra wasn't smiling anymore. She looked stunned, like she'd been slapped. A few people clapped out of confusion. Someone cleared their throat. Most just stared. Dad looked pale, like he was processing too much too quickly. I caught the DJ glancing at me, just briefly, but with something like solidarity. And me? I stayed seated. Hands folded in my lap. I didn't cry. I didn't run. I didn't apologize. For the first time in years, I didn't feel small. Sierra didn't say a word. Not to me. Not to anyone. She just stood there, frozen, the mic still in her hand, and then finally passed it off to one of her PR friends who tried to laugh it off and move the party forward. But the vibe had shifted. People started making excuses to leave. The buzz was gone. I left without saying goodbye. The walk down to the street was quiet, surreal. The doorman, a man in his 50s with tired eyes, held the door for me. "Nice night," he said. I nodded. "It is now." I turned my phone off that night. When I turned it back on the next morning, I had over 20 missed calls and a stack of messages from Sierra. Long ones. Angry ones. Pleading ones. Voice messages full of half-sobs and "I can't believe you did that to me" and "How could you blindside me like that in front of everyone?" She called me a traitor. Then 5 minutes later, she begged me to talk to her. Dad messaged me too. He asked if I was okay, but then immediately followed it up with, "That was not the time or place. You humiliated your sister in front of her friends." Mom didn't say anything until 3 days later. A short email. "Sometimes truth is too heavy to carry in public. Be kind." No acknowledgement of the truth in that video. No defense. Just that. I didn't reply. Since then, it's been strange. Freeing in some ways, isolating in others. People like Sierra don't fall quietly. She's been laying low on social media, no doubt trying to spin what happened or figure out how to clean it up without addressing it. A few mutual acquaintances messaged me privately. Some told me it was brave. One woman, her old PR manager, said, "I always wondered what it was like to be in your shoes. Now I know. And I'm sorry. But mostly, I've just been, still. Processing. I didn't do it to destroy her. I swear I didn't. I did it because I needed to see it for myself. That I wasn't just some fixture in her story. That I had a voice. That the years I spent showing up, cleaning up, and holding everything together meant something. You grow up in someone's shadow long enough, you start to forget you even have a shape of your own. I didn't forget this time. A week passed before I heard from her again. This time it wasn't a voicemail or a sobbing text chain. It was an email. Short subject line, "Talk?" The body of the message was longer. She wrote in full sentences, which she rarely did. No emojis. No exclamation points. It wasn't performative like her usual writing. It was stilted, awkward, and I could tell, genuine. Or at least, more honest than anything she'd said in years. She said she felt humiliated. That the party, the speech, none of it was supposed to come off that way. She claimed she meant it affectionately, as a joke. That I'd always been her safe space and that she thought everyone saw that, too. She admitted, in fewer words than I'd hoped, that maybe she had leaned too much on me over the years. That maybe, deep down, she knew she hadn't always said thank you. She asked if we could meet, just the two of us, without drama. I didn't reply. Not because I was angry. Not exactly. I just wasn't ready. Something had cracked open inside me, and I was still standing in the dust of it, figuring out who I was now that I'd said no more. It's funny, the first thing people ask me when they hear about the video is, "Why didn't you ever say anything before?" And I don't know how to explain it. Because when you grow up quiet, when your needs have always been secondary, when people laugh off your pain as not that bad, you stop thinking you're allowed to say anything. You become excellent at shrinking. At making yourself palatable. You learn how to carry the emotional weight of others and call it love. And every time I did try to say something, gently, carefully, Sierra would twist it. "God, you're so sensitive. It's not that deep. I didn't mean it like that, why are you being weird?" So I stopped. And when someone stops expressing pain, people assume they're fine. I wasn't fine. I'd just gone quiet. I saw Ivy a week after the party. Sierra had asked Dad to drop her off for a visit, which was her way of not having to talk to me directly. He showed up at my apartment with Ivy holding a little pink duffel bag and wearing sparkly sneakers. "I missed you," she said, running up to hug me like nothing had happened. I almost cried. Dad barely met my eye. He mumbled something about needing to get back to the city and left in a hurry. No lecture, no judgment this time. Just silence. Ivy and I spent the weekend doing simple things. We went to the aquarium in Mystic. Made pancakes shaped like animals. Watched old episodes of Mythbusters under a blanket on my couch. She asked once, softly, "Are you and Mom mad at each other?" I took a breath. "I think," I said slowly, "that sometimes people who love each other still hurt each other. And when that happens a lot, you need to take space to figure out how to be better." She nodded like she understood. Maybe she did. Kids are smarter than we give them credit for. Is it because of the video? I looked at her carefully. Did your mom tell you about it? She shook her head. She was crying in her room after the party. She didn't come out for a whole day. I heard her tell Aunt Maureen that you embarrassed her. But I didn't think it was bad. I liked seeing you with me in all those pictures. That gutted me more than anything. Because Ivy had seen the truth in it. The love behind it. The presence. The proof that I'd been there, over and over, even when it meant disappearing from my own life to fill the gaps in someone else's. I told her I was glad she saw it. That I loved her very much. That she would always have a home with me, even if grown-ups were figuring their stuff out. She smiled, climbed into my lap, and just rested there for a while. It was the most peaceful moment I'd had in years. Sierra eventually showed up. Not unannounced, thank God. She texted first. Just one line, "I'm outside. Can we talk?" It was a Tuesday, around 6. The sun had just started setting behind the buildings. I opened the door, and there she was, makeup-free, hair in a loose braid, oversized hoodie, and sunglasses on her head like a tourist. For once, she didn't look like she was about to film a reel or meet a brand rep for dinner. She looked human. Small. I didn't say anything. Just stepped back to let her in. We sat on opposite ends of the couch. Ivy was already asleep in the bedroom, her sound machine humming ocean waves behind the door. I poured us both water. No wine. No coffee. Just still, flat water. It took her a full 2 minutes to say anything. "I didn't know," she whispered, "how it looked from the outside." I stayed quiet. I thought I was being cute. Grateful, even. That whole background character thing was supposed to be a joke. You know, the way people say ride or die and main character energy. I didn't think it would land like that. I nodded, slowly. That's the problem. You didn't think so. You've never really had to. She winced. I guess not. There was a silence that settled between us. Not angry. Not tense. Just, long overdue. You made me invisible, I said. Not just that night. My whole life. And when I tried to speak, to say how it felt, you turned it into a performance. You laughed. Or worse, you pitied me. Sierra blinked fast, like she was holding something back. Then she let out a breath. I don't know how to be anything other than loud. That's not my job to fix, I said. Not anymore. She nodded. Looked down at her hands. I saw myself in that video, she said finally. Like, really saw myself. And I didn't like who I was. You were always there. Always doing the real work. I never thanked you. I didn't need you to thank me, I said. I needed you to see me. I do now. Maybe she did. I don't know. That's the part I'm still unsure of. Sierra's been good at moments of vulnerability before. The real test is what comes after. We talked for about an hour that night. She left with tears in her eyes, and I didn't follow her out. I just closed the door and leaned against it, letting the silence wrap around me. That night, I didn't dream about Sierra. Or the party. Or our parents. I dreamt about water. An ocean with no horizon. Me, floating in it, not drowning, just free. The days after that conversation were quiet. No dramatic follow-ups. No long texts from Sierra or sudden visits from our parents. She didn't try to spin the story online either, no cryptic captions, no healing journey posts on her blog, no video apologies. She just disappeared from the spotlight for a bit. And honestly, I was grateful. I used the space to reevaluate everything. My patterns. My willingness to keep the peace at the cost of myself. The number of times I said yes to things I didn't want to do just to keep someone else comfortable. It wasn't just Sierra. I saw it in the way I tiptoed around our mother's judgment, how I'd soften my tone around Dad so he wouldn't dismiss me. How I'd let colleagues interrupt me in meetings and then apologize as I spoke. It had been woven into me for so long, I didn't even realize how deep it ran. But the birthday party had cracked something. The light got in. And I didn't want to patch it back up. About 3 weeks later, I got an invitation. Hand-delivered. It was ivory cardstock, thick and clearly expensive. At first, I assumed it was from some mutual connection of Sierra's, another curated social function. But when I opened it, I saw her handwriting. You always showed up for me. I planned something to show up for you. Saturday, 6 p.m. Just come. No location. No other details. I debated not going. A big part of me still didn't trust it. But curiosity, that old flickering thing, nudged at me. Saturday arrived. I wore something simple, black slacks, a forest green blouse, flats. No makeup. Hair tied up. I drove myself. Sierra had included an address in a follow-up text that morning. It was a small private room at a cozy restaurant in New Haven, not a flashy venue, not some influencer hotspot. When I arrived, there were about 20 people there. My former professor from Tufts. 2 of my therapy clients, I later learned they'd given permission to speak. A woman from the shelter where I volunteer. My old roommate from college. Even Mrs. Levinsky, our high school librarian, now retired. Sierra was standing at the front of the room, dressed in all black, no shimmer. No phone in sight. She didn't even have a mic. When she saw me, she smiled. But not her usual dazzling performance smile. This one was smaller. Honest. Nervous. I took a seat near the back. Ivy was there too, sitting in the front row with a chocolate milk in her hands. Sierra cleared her throat. This isn't a party, she said. It's a reckoning. People chuckled. She let them. I've spent most of my life being the center of attention. I've made a career out of being seen. But in doing that, I failed to see someone who made that life possible. She looked right at me. Nadia. My chest tightened. You were the safety net no one saw. The foundation I built my entire chaotic world on. And I never said thank you. Worse, I turned your grace into something I mocked. She paused. Took a breath. So tonight, I've invited people who know you, not the version that lives in my shadow, but the version I failed to see. People you've impacted, helped, mentored, cared for. Because I wanted to finally be quiet and let the world see you. Then, one by one, they spoke. My professor talked about the paper I wrote on trauma bonding that he still used in lectures. One client shared how I helped her leave an abusive marriage and find herself again. My former roommate cried when she talked about the time I paid her rent anonymously so she wouldn't be evicted during grad school. Even Mrs. Levinsky told a story about how I used to reshelve books without being asked just so she could take her lunch breaks. I didn't know half of these people remembered those things. I sat there, stunned. And Sierra didn't speak again. She sat, silent, hands folded in her lap, and just listened. No recording. No cameras. No social media tags. Just truth. When it was over, she walked up to me. Everyone else had started to drift toward food and drinks. I know it doesn't undo everything, she said quietly. But I hope it's a start. I studied her for a moment. You really planned this? All of it. Even asked Mom and Dad to come. They refused. That didn't surprise me. I had to see it, she added. I had to see you through other people's eyes. Not just mine. She took a shaky breath. I'm going back to school. Just one class, to start. Psychology. I figured, if I want to understand people, I should start by understanding the one person who's never given up on me. That was the moment the knot in my chest loosened. I didn't hug her. Not yet. But I nodded. That was enough. I left the restaurant an hour later, heart full in a way I hadn't felt in years. Sierra had finally done what I never thought she could, give up the spotlight, even for a moment, to lift someone else. And that, to me, was revenge of the most satisfying kind. Not cruel. Not petty. But transformative. Because I hadn't just taught her a lesson. I'd reminded myself of my value. And now, everyone else saw it too.